guys, welcome to my fabulous world. It's another day, another opportunity to connect. It's so good to be with you. As you know, it's June. June is Youth Month. So we're connecting on this very special month. And it's a month when we reflect, at least those of us who are adults, reflect on what this means. And for me, it's a very important reflection as the world goes, as the changes in the world happen. So I've got 3 guests today, but before I introduce them to you, remember to subscribe, remember to like, press notifications. Hey, and call your friends, your relatives, even your pastor to subscribe. We want to reach 100,000 by the end of this year. We can do it, man. Come on. Do that. I know some of you are watching and you haven't subscribed. Just do it now, right? And joining me is Loa. Loa is an anthropology honors student at Wits. And of course, she's from Mzumi, KZN. And Loa will be talking with us today. And let me introduce you to the second one. Is Mbali, our second guest. And Mbali is a Bachelor of Accounting Science student at Wits University. And she's from Mbalenhle, Mpumalanga. And then we've got Butlali. Butlali is an LLB graduate from University of Pretoria. And he's an entrepreneur. And currently we are at his place of work, of course, his business. It's in Alexander, Bailey's Eatery. So if you're around Alexander, it's amazing. After this, we're going to have some hodu, hard body, and so on and so forth. And it's all his brainchild. So, as you know, you can see I'm talking to young people, and I selected them randomly, and so that we can have a conversation. So, thank you for coming and joining me in this conversation.
Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And you must emphasize random for me.
Random. Absolutely. No, I can't emphasize random very much because, I'm a scientist. And scientists, once I say random, they will say, I must explain which random sampling did I use, right? So I thought I should go there, but then I want to say it's convenience sampling. But it's random, but convenient.
Understood.
Because I didn't go to the street, but it was random. But it's convenient because I went to the people I can talk to, and this is you today. But in a way, in my view, you represent many of the young people. You are not necessarily speaking for them, but it's good to just get an idea of what young people of today think. And top of mind for me is student activism, youth activism. On this Youth Month, where, in your view, what's the state of youth activism? I mean, if you were to give it one word, what would you say is the state of youth activism?
I think for me, it's definitely fragmented.
Okay.
That's the one word.
Okay. Fragmented.
Yeah, the challenges are obviously many. Yeah. We don't have a unifying cause, one unifying cause, such as apartheid. I think then it was much easier. It was a matter of black and white.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
For me, I feel like it's stagnant.
Stagnant?
Yeah, because I feel like, as you said, like we're kind of always fighting for the same thing all the time. Yeah. And as you said, it's fragmented because there's only one thing that we're looking at, or people are only, vouching for only one thing, and that is basically the student stuff that has to do with student life and whatnot. I don't feel like we're able to diversify all the things that are of urgent matter in regards to the youth.
Yes, that involve all young people. Bali?
So for me, I'll just say it's very individualized. The struggle now is about me. What am I going to, what am I going through and all of those things. And the voices we hear are not voices that are representative of people who are going through those struggles. Everyone on top of these climate activist conversations are people who have never had to deal with having a flood or have their roof fly over because they grew up in certain areas. So I feel like there's so many voices that are louder than the people who are actually going through these problems each and every day, right? Because I used to have a thing in high school that, experience really radicalizes, because when you get into these situations and then you see the impact it has not only on you, but your community, you want to make a difference. So but people now, it's all about me, how can I appear on TV more? How can the world shine a light on me? But it's all about me and how activism will benefit me in a sense. Yeah.
Good points you're raising. Individualized, focusing on only specific issues that affect students, and fragmented. And I mean, but we're celebrating Youth Month. And I keep wondering, June 16, we're celebrating Youth Month because of June 16. And of course, when I was your age at varsity, June 16 was a day we took over, we possessed, and made our voices heard. And now in 2023, I keep thinking, but that wasn't the last time we had a youth revolt. We had a student revolt. We had a student revolt in 2015 with Roads Must Fall, and then we had Fees Must Fall. But there isn't necessarily a day where young people say, we remember. Like we said, June 16, we remember, or lest we forget. And of course, Hector Peterson was sort of the rallying, figure. But do you see Roads Must Fall, Fees Must Fall being a point where maybe many years from now, it can be recognized, celebrated as a moment where young people shook us a little bit? Or what? I mean, when Loa said a bit stagnant, I got scared. I was like, ooh. Of course, when Roads Must Fall happened, that's when a lot of adults were saying, oh, the youth these days is apolitical, they're quiet, they're not saying anything, and boom. So if they're stagnant now, is it going to be another boom? So tell me, many years from now, will Roads Must Fall, will anyone remember Roads Must Fall as a moment, a turning point, as something where Fees Must Fall, where something happened?
Yeah, so for me, I think particularly Roads Must Fall. I think that was a huge turning point. I think it's the first time our generation really comes out and is destructive about, what we're doing. We said that university must stand still because we have a particular belief on an issue. So for me, I think that will always be a turning point, but I don't know whether it will be written in the history books as much as Fees Must Fall. I think Fees Must Fall because that is a more sort of shared struggle. Whether you're black, you're white, whether you grew up in KZN or Gauteng, it's a shared struggle. So the commonality in that struggle, I think, will make the big difference with Fees Must Fall. But I think both of them are very momentous occasions. It's when students rallied behind each other and, we're unified.
Yeah. But in Bali's Roads Must Fall not a shared struggle? I'm surprised. I thought it is.
Yes, Roads Must Fall was, but in a sense that not everyone could sort of like relate to it on a personal level. It's the same thing when some political party was rallying in destructing like all of the statues that are representative of colonialism, and people are like, why are you focusing on that? Because we need jobs. So there are certain causes where people do not have like a personal like experience on, they're able to just dismiss it as an issue that is not as important. So yeah, I don't think Roads Must Fall will be important, but it was a very important turning moment in history because it was the one who influenced Fees Must Fall. But with regards to Fees Must Fall, I don't think we will be remembering it in 10 or 11 years. I mean, a documentary went out, but it's just, I feel like, again, going back to the struggle was me. It was a very unified fight, but like what happened post that fight showed that there was inherently something problematic about how these people like combined. Other people were fighting for fees and other people were fighting to be recognized. So that's why you see some people had to pay for all of the things that happened during the Fees Must Fall era. And some people were awarded with certain positions or certain influence, right? So that again, like those like disparities are things that are going to make us forget, because not that we didn't have a unified fight, but I don't think we're all on the same page on what we want to do after it. Okay, we have fought, so like after, what do we want? Like what type of legacy do we want to live in? Because when we had our revolt, like the fees must fall at Wits earlier this year, right? A lot of people were anti the thing because some things are, I'm going to sound controversial, but like some things.
Oh, controversy is allowed in this,
So
on this
some things
podcast.
are, especially with.
It's a safe space.
Especially with student activism, which gets the most like momentum in terms of like media coverage and all of those things. I personally feel, my opinion, right, that it is very politicized, right? It's not really about a common cause. It's about how to sort of like hijack or benefit at the detriment of other students. Because when we held that, it was 3 days before registration closed. So what were we expecting to achieve? It's not like after 3 days, everything was going to be at a standstill, right? There are certain people who still couldn't register because some people were saying it's convenient because this has to be the look. That's at the beginning of every year has to look destructive and all of those things, right? So it was again, politicized and what can I do? Because some people still didn't get the benefit of what we were fighting for, but we're really not fighting because we wanted like students to be recognized. We were fighting because Wits is associated with violence every beginning of the year. So we wanted to carry that culture forward, not understanding that there are certain ways to deal with the problem. And from past struggles, we must learn how it went wrong and how we want to fix it, and not just take destruction as this has to happen. That's my own opinion. I'm sorry. But like there's nothing wrong with destruction. Sometimes things have to be at a standstill, halted in order for our voices to be heard. But I'm just saying again, like what do we want to achieve post that? Those are conversations that we need to start having, and not what brings us together, but what do we want to see, like the plan going forward? What does that look like? In a sense.
Got you. Look, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, you're also from Wits with Mbali. And of course, Mbali raises an important point about fees must fall. As much as we'll remember it's also very personal. Even though it was shared, as Butlali says, but it was personal. And then she brings it to this year, that it's also personal. But she also mentioned a point about some people lost and other people gained.
I mean, I think in regards to that, because I was with her during the protest, so I was also kind of like having an internal reflection while the whole thing was going on. Because for me, it was like, I mean, are we, as you said, it's like a constant thing at Wits every year. At the beginning of the year, this thing happens. But I was just wondering, like, because obviously the parties are like, they're divided. There's the ANC, EFF, and other parties that are whatever. So
I thought you are more united. You've got PYA. I mean, everybody comes together. There's no PYA in Cape Town.
Those are just ANC structures brought together.
Okay.
So like, I got you. Yeah, so like with them, I feel like it was just another step towards just ANC doing, like, I don't know, like I feel like whenever I was there, I was not really there. Because I was looking at it, I'm like, yeah, we're here to help students and whatnot. And Mali said, like, what do we achieve post the whole demonstration? Like, what happens then? Because we can stand in front of the road and obstruct all things and not go to school and whatnot. But then after that, we'll go back to normal. People are going to classes. And other people who aren't able to go to classes, their life basically stays the same. And I was just wondering, like, is this really the way that we're moving forward in terms of we're doing these demonstrations, but what are they really for? Like in the essence of them, because I don't really see like a planned out thing like, oh, like this is for the long term. This is what we want to do for the kids so that next year the same thing doesn't occur. But I feel like they just do the same thing where we'll come together as students, we're united, supposedly united and standing with the front, like we're all here to fight for each other's because we care about other students. But then now what happened to those students? As you said, like it was 3 days before they closed registration. I don't think the issue was solved.
Yeah.
So Prof, I think I have a question for you in this regards. Do you not think perhaps, because we almost have a very highlighted view of history. We know June 16, there was a demonstration and then, you know, the consequences thereafter. It's a high level view. Do you not think at times we may be impatient? Do you not think every year we are protesting, we're breaking one wall down and then the other wall? Because I think for me, that's a shared concern, you know, because we know at the beginning of every year, there will be protests. The registration fees are a challenge every single year, and understandably so, you know. So our fight, when we're fighting this fight, do you think that we're impatient in the fight and we are not seeing the long term, you know?
I mean, interesting question. But I mean, I think it raises the issue that Mbali raised, that it's individualized. That why is it that the students protest only the beginning of the year? I mean, as we speak, the world is in turmoil. The world is in turmoil. And young people in South Africa are going on as if nothing is happening. The war in Ukraine has been on for more than a year now. Do we know what the youth of South Africa thinks? And maybe some people might say, well, it's not our issue. Well, it is. The reason why the price of food is going up has got everything to do with the war in Ukraine, because of energy, oil, and the grains, food, wheat, and so on. You know, so it affects our food security. It affects anything. And once we get to petrol, gas, and energy, it then affects the transport. It's just huge. And if there's anyone who should understand this, should be university students. But here we are, we got our students quiet. Our presidents from the African continent go to the UN, they don't vote. Young people didn't actually even give them a mandate to say, we want you not to vote, abstain, or we want to vote no, or whatever. Young people just kept quiet. As we speak, I think we've got African presidents going to Ukraine. I mean, President Cyril Ramaphosa was speaking to Vladimir Putin yesterday, and, about this African envoy going, whatever. Young people are not saying anything. They're not saying, you are going there in our name. Tell them this. They're not. Is it because you don't have a view? Is your issue only fees? So you can say one wall falls, but which wall is that?
But I feel like also why the youth is not like involved in politics, because some people have a 1D view of the world, right? So things have to be very close to them in order for them to understand what it means, right? Because prices are rising up. They don't see that as because of intercontinental stuff or things going around the world. They just see it as food is going up and salaries are remaining the same. So because it doesn't touch, like, it's not like they can make the connection that, okay, this causes this and therefore I should fight against this. No, they just only see the result or the effect and they don't think about where it is coming from. And for me, I do understand, because some people do feel powerless in a sense that, okay, we will speak, but like, what effect will that have? What impact will that have? In a sense that it is better for me to just drown my sorrows, enjoy my time, forget that the world exists, because I feel like I do not have the power or the influence to change what is going on. So I am not even going to try, because we are not even given that platform. We have to continuously fight. So some people are like, okay, we're going to fight, but I don't think anything is going to be achieved. Therefore, I will just remain calm and just like in my place and just mind my business and just be okay.
Sad though?
It is.
Then we have 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds saying, like 50-something-year-olds and 60-year-olds, what can I do? That's just what it is. When we were 19, 20, 21, we thought, yes, we can change the world. Of course, we have the power. We're going to march against Renecht. And that's going to change, even though it didn't, but we made our voice heard because, and I hear you completely. And if you're on a university campus, you've got political science students, international relations students, whatever, shouldn't they be unpacking that for you through lunchtime seminars? I mean, when I was at VETS, there were seminars. I was at VETS 1989. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was shocked getting to VETS that lunchtime, 1:00, it was a time when seminars happened, like at SS building, those SS rooms. There would be some speaker breaking down some issue. Of course, I came from a black university, University of Putatswana at that time, and it was amazing. Of course, at a black university, those things happened at night. Not at lunchtime. Lunchtime, we are eating. It's at night after dining hall. Yes. Then we go to the main hall. And that's where the people who know would... And then people would sort of give talks. Students would give talks about how things are related, the World Bank debt of developing countries. I mean, I knew nothing about that. And that's when my eyes went, wow. And then that's how they mobilize. Doesn't it happen now?
It still does happen because in my school we still have whole seminars here and now, But
for the math students though, and the commerce students, not for yourself only. I'm talking about the ones where everybody comes, like at rest, but hey, Pela. Those kind of ones,
So, adverts will have this joke that East Campus and West Campus are two completely different worlds. Yeah. Because West Campus is like the commerce students and the
and the engineering and
all
mathematics.
Of those things. Yeah, that's a very different world.
And of course, the education campus doesn't exist. You don't count them because you're not mentioning them. You're not mentioning them. That's the truth. I moved from main campus, from East Campus to education campus. It's like they don't exist. So it's West Campus and East Campus. Yeah. So that's why you're saying two different worlds. Is there another world? Is there a business school?
Oh yes, business school usually do host the cinema.
Yeah, but education campus doesn't exist. It's just this. Anyway, we're talking politics now, but you get me.
Yeah.
The inequity.
Yeah, I feel like with students, honestly, I feel like we've just normalized. It is what it is. Honestly, at this point, at this point, because even in class when we discuss such matters, it's just there is a sense of hopelessness in there. Like people are just like, what can we do? Like this is the reality we've been given, and we might as well just work with it. As you said, it's an individual thing. You're just fighting for yourself. What happens to the next person? Wow.
But then again,
really,
but then again, I think it's also that the face of the oppressor is changed.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I think the face of the oppressor has changed. To the point that some of our parents are the oppressor. People who are holding structures in any sort of organizations have led us to that feeling that I'm powerless. My voice is going to be heard. And for me, I think that's my story.
But Kali, here's the thing. I mean, it's interesting how you're conceptualizing the oppressor. Because for you, the oppressor is someone who's in political power. But are you considering the power, the invisible power of the West?
So that's
the invisible power of privilege and power.
100%. So
that it cannot come here and do it on its own. I mean, colonization is gone. But people are still colonizing their minds.
100%. I mean, our constitution...
The project was so successful that we're doing it ourselves. And
100%.
Apartheid is over.
Yes.
But the project was so good.
Yes. I firmly believe in this.
And the oppressors, the people who have the complexion of the oppressor, know that. They don't have to do anything. Yeah. Actually, they just plant the seed. They just make a comment at the bathroom about a certain thing. And they know you're going to run and hound your vice-chancellor out, the black vice-chancellor, because you say he is the oppressor. But poor guy is just holding the position. Frankly speaking, doesn't have much power because the funders have a bigger voice, and there are things that he's got to manage. So it's almost like between this and that, because you think he's got the power. They know they don't have all the power. The people who have the power, they know they have the power. But they tell you, that's the person you have in position. So, let them do the thing.
So my thing is, I always feel if you're holding public office, be ready to lose your life. You are holding public office. You're holding the coffers of the state. You're holding the dreams, the aspirations of the state, So you cannot be wavering on that, You have to be steadfast. Yeah. And that's my personal belief, If you are going to sit as a president of a country, be willing to take it all. Because you're serving the people. Mm-hmm. Every single person within your boundaries is looking up to you, and they have employed you because they contribute to your livelihood as well. And you've given yourself that position as well, to say, you've put your hand up and say, I'm willing and I'm able to lead everyone.
So you must take it.
100%.
So I also agree. But again, why people just feel the need to just blame the person who is the face of it is because when these people get elected into office, it sounds like some revolution is going to happen. We're going to have the first black VC of this and this. People have hope that that person is going to bring like immense change, forgetting that at the end of the day, these things are structures, right? And one thing we often leave out of these conversations about racism is that it's an institutional problem, right? It's not I'm a white person and like saying certain words. Like it's structures that are created to benefit one color over the other, right? And sometimes they bring people who look like us to give us motivation or just, they look like you can do it. Just, and then all of the blame sort of like goes to you because we were sold a dream when you were elected into office that you are for us, forgetting that the system itself is not for us. So how can the face of the system be for us? Because in that sense, those people are also like powerless to a certain extent. But it's just not ever forgetting that this thing is an institutional problem. And if we want to break it, we have to go back and how it was designed, because it is inherently flawed and everyone who comes will have some sort of like impact, but it will not be what we want, because we want an overturn of the system, but we don't want to attack the institution itself. That is the problem. That makes sense.
Got you.
Summed up perfectly.
Sounds revolutionary.
But I mean, so for me, Prof, that goes back to the conversation you and I had outside of here.
Yes.
About how the whole legal structure is formed. Our constitution is not revolutionary in any sense. It is the mere progression. And we are trying to assimilate now to this, this transformative constitutionalism. It's not a breakdown of how legal structures worked or whatever. It's just how close can we get to what you guys want, and what makes you feel good.
Yeah.
So for me, transformative constitutionalism sounds great, but it doesn't work for our agenda. And I think that's why we feel so powerless, because it's this huge machine, and where do you even begin? And so many different machines that you're trying to fight.
But Loy, you can't feel powerless. I mean, you are now in our future.
Yeah, but like...
I mean, at the moment, we've been told that we should get you into parliament.
Yeah.
And things will change. But then if young people feel powerless...
But like, what... I do feel powerless.
What needs to happen to make young people feel less powerless?
I don't know. I feel like it starts from home. I don't know. Like, it starts from home. Like, just being in a... Because as you say, like, our parents, it just starts there. Because I won't lie. Like, there's some things that your parents might say, maybe you might not actually, like, look into it. But there's some things that they say passively that kind of instills this sense of being in you that, this is my circumstance. This is just who I am in this world. And how I navigate the world is in this way. And... there's nothing I can change, basically. Because, like, for me, it kind of is... I tend to, what do I do? Assimilate, as you said. I tend to assimilate a lot. And I remember I was speaking to this one white girl, this one time, I remember. But she was I don't know whether she was empowering me or something, but she kept on reiterating that, oh no, as a black person, as a black woman in South Africa, you have so many opportunities. You are literally like at at the top. Like you are in terms of just like moving, like everything will be easy for you. And I'm just sitting, I was like, are we living in the same reality? Because I don't know if that's what I see on the outside. Because if it was what she was explaining, from her perspective, that things should just be easy for you. As you said, the face of the person who's ruling us now looks like us. So it seems like things should be like this way, but they're not. And I don't know if maybe people are still struggling with that even if, as you said, you've taken the white people away, now it's us who are quote unquote in charge, in power, things are supposed to happen, like there's a revolution that's supposed to occur, but there's no revolution. We're just still we're still in the same kingdom, just under someone else's rule now. Still the same structures, still going on life, acting as if we are in some kind of new world, but we're really not in this we're still there. Like, I feel like it's just, that's why I feel a sense of helplessness, because it's like, but people, like, nothing is happening. We're just still moving the same way. It's just that now it seems like, like we're being in this new, it should be different, but it's not.
It's not. So perhaps it's like what Mbali says, we've changed who holds political power, but not the political system. And so Black people have got political power, they don't have economic power. But then in 94, are you saying all those negotiations we were lied to? Should our leaders have negotiated something different? I mean, if you were there at CODESA, and Mbali, you talked about the system, right? It's in the system. What would have been your proposal? I mean, if we said to young people, we took groups of young people and take them to a conference on a CODESA, and diverse group of young people, and we say, blueprint for South Africa. Like, just assume this is 1990. We come from oppression. We are so polarized right now. Like, tell us how we should move ahead. What should the constitution be like? What should be whatever? And we take you out there for the whole month and you work it out.
Prof, do you want to get us cancelled?
But even that idea is a problem. I mean, one day I want to get a group of young people to talk about why is it that it's Black people who get cancelled. I mean, I'm looking forward to a white person being cancelled. Black people are cancelling Black people. Now, here you are, you're scared to speak because you may just be cancelled. You're not even worried that you're going to be marked down in your assignment. You're not worried that you're not going to get a job. You're worried that you're going to be cancelled. I mean, isn't it sad? I mean, what are we doing to ourselves, Butlali? Mbali, what are we doing? Should we give you a break so that you don't get cancelled? Like, you can reconstruct your sentences in a way that they won't get you cancelled.
Sounding politically correct.
Always. So I think for me, in the context, it made a lot of sense. There was a lot of turmoil at the time, and the compromises had to be made. I think the only thing different I would do is from a legislative point of view. And that's only because I once believed that the law could save us.
That's why you went for LLB.
100%. Once upon a time. Yeah. So I would change it from that perspective. I think in writing new legislation, we should have started afresh. We should have literally torn down the entire system. The fact that some apartheid legislation still exists today, just because it was not amended, is wrong, because the foundation of that is unequivocally wrong. So that's what I would have done. But I mean, even then you think of that practically and you ask yourself, how would that look, And it would have then led to a protracted sort of conversations and negotiations. So I don't know.
The oppressor had to put the finger on us that we feel desperate, like, okay, let's just agree.
And I think that
really,
I think that for me, that's my perspective.
Wow. Mbali?
I'm a tad. I'm almost radical. But like, in a sense, I do understand it was going on for far too long. People were losing lives. Nothing was really. So they probably felt like, you know, just as Butlali said, compromises had to be done, right? And those compromises benefited some people and worsened the situation of some people, right? Because you can think of it, how long have townships existed? We're still in the township. Like literally, you have to choose between whether you want to have a small nyana space for your children to play at or a room. Like that's like, it's so tiny. The space itself is so tiny. Waking up at the township for me is like the worst experience. I hate it more than everything, right? When you go to the shop and then you see people sitting there without nothing to do with their lives, like feeling hopeless, like this is the reality we were given with and we gotta work with it, right? So going back to them, Bona, their kids, the people who are in the negotiations have never had to feel like that, ever. They've never had to feel like, I have to break this curse of everyone at home not finishing matric. I'm going to be the first one to do this. I'm going to be the first. They've never had to feel like that. So yes, compromises had to be made, but who had it worse? Like those compromises, who did it serve and who did it worse in the situation? But for us, it's like literally the same thing. The only difference now is that I can go to Wits and I can, you know, go to a shop. I can go to the mall with my friends and whatever. But it's also a conversation I used to have in matric, right? They sort of like made it seem like they're giving us a new key, right? You can use this to open every door. I can't afford transport to that door. So how am I going to open that door? Yeah. Like in a sense.
I thought you were going to say, I can go to Wits, I can get my degree and become a CA and make a lot of money and I'll rescue a few crabs. Yeah. And
you see, that would be saying it from an individualized perspective, right? Okay. That is going to happen for me. But like we'll have to look, because I'm an anomaly in your community. Yes. In my community, right? So when I view these issues, I have to view from like a wide perspective, because that is where I come from. So I should not act like those situations don't exist at home, because they do. So when we think about how the negotiations have went, okay, they went like that. But for me, it was going to be a lot of people were going to benefit. And this is going to sound controversial, but the land. You know, my grandmother always talks about how much when she grew up in a rural area, she had land to do whatever. Yeah. She had plants, she had animals, she had all of those things. So it allowed her the freedom to sort of like move in other places. But also that when I go to Sandton, I have to pay 7,000 for an apartment in my own country, my own homeland. How does that make sense? And for the people who are stuck at the townships, like, they think about, I'm going to work maybe here at ShopRite and stuff. We'll move into a back room somewhere and all of those things. So those negotiations did not serve us. It served the people who were in those negotiations and their families.
You know, you're going to pay whatever thousands or millions for the land if you want to move to Sandton. I often think because you don't want to live with poor people. And that's what the black middle class do. I mean, sadly, but I mean, that's another conversation. But I want to, as we go towards the end, maybe I should ask you, so what are you going to do on June 16? Are you going to celebrate it? Are you it's just going to be another day? Do you ever think about it? Is there something planned on campus? What happens?
Nothing much happens.
A lot of things are not planned. Like Wits is a very special place, Prof.
Yeah.
Like very special.
South Africa is a very special
very special place. Yeah. I don't want to lie. But like in high school, when I was still like very active, we used to host like a lot of things, like debates and all of those things, you know, just to discuss the state of the world.
As it should be.
As it should be. At this point, I am going to be studying for my FINAC and auditing exam. Because at the end of the day, I have to get out of this place. Yeah. And although I want to be in touch with my consciousness side, the system does not allow me to do so. I can't take 1 day free. Yeah. Like I could do like 10 tats on that day. So I have to think about the sacrifices that I'm making. And I don't like it, but as Loa said, it is what it is.
Yep. Any plans, Butlali?
Unfortunately, not for me.
There
I
won't be
think-
anything happening in Alexander either?
They most likely will be, but then again, those are tick box exercises. Yeah. So I think even for me, like Freedom Day and Human Rights Day, like I think Human Rights Day is the one that gets to me. Because what are we celebrating? If we go outside,
Yeah.
how many human rights violations are happening as we speak? So what are we celebrating?
Yeah.
But Youth Day, I don't think I can be as cynical as that, because it's a day we have to celebrate the sacrifices and the lives that were lost on that day. But as a youth in 2023, further than that, I don't think I have much, to necessarily celebrate. Hoping we'll get a lot of like TV interviews and whatever, because that's what always happens, Youth Month, you get a lot of attention.
But maybe we should start giving them suggestions, or coming up like Mandela Day, go and do good for 70 whatever.
Prof, these
minutes.
people will call you to be the face of,
Yes.
these young people are making a difference in their communities. And you are there after working like months on a research proposal, you on a thingy, so that they are able to implement certain policies. They're going to look at them. They're going to take pictures with us. It's going to be a nice brunch. And then
It's a
they
photo
ghost
op.
us.
It's a photo op.
And then it's over, just like that. Like our suggestions are not taken into place. Not to shame other people, but during my climate advocacy days, I spoke about, the integration of what the private sector could do to advance like climate change conversations and like climate funding. Right? Those people were like, yes, we understand you. You've raised a very important place. And then someone was like, you guys always say this. And they're like, no, we're going to invite you and give you seats so that you can make these things. How? 4 months
And that
passed.
was business.
And that was in 2020.
Wow.
Now it's 2023.
Oh, which companies were those? Maybe we should out them.
My future employers. I don't want to ruin any, but it's very notable private sector.
But you see why we can't change things, Loa? We are scared. We are scared. I mean, we could be saying this company and that company, we met so-and-so, they said this. Where are you now?
We're at the mercy of them. You have to choose. You have priorities. As Maddie said, you don't really have much of freedom to, because it's either this or this. And there's no in between. There's no, I can have it all. You want a job? You don't want a job. So you don't want anything that will taint your image or that might, associate you with things that they don't like. So you try and it's like people pleasing at this.
It feels like a new kind of slavery.
Yeah, it is.
Pressure,
We're just trying to get by, as you said.
That's why I say the face of the press has drastically changed.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a very sad point to end on. So I'm going to ask a last question. So your future, if you could change one thing about South Africa, if you could, what would it be? Don't tell me you'll just end poverty. I don't want the cliche kind of answers, Because that's what politicians would say. We'll just end poverty. We'll just... as a young person, what is it that you think it can be a focus for young people to do during June month that would make a difference in South Africa? One thing.
That's a tough one, Prof. That's a very tough one. I don't know. I think for me, regaining our consciousness on certain issues. But then again, you feel hopeless. So regaining consciousness, how far does that take you, but it's such a tricky one. As an entrepreneur, I think, we can't one job at a time our way out of the struggle, but it makes a difference. And for me, I always feel as Black people, our integrity has been stripped away from us, to the point where higher ups and powerful individuals, whether it's private or public sector, love the give me's. And hence, back to your point, on June 16, there'll be a lot of, giveaways and this and that, freebies. But I think real substance needs to be, we need real substance. We need to be given real opportunities. And opportunities that don't need me to follow up on you and do this and that and sneak an envelope behind your back. I I can speak from that as an entrepreneur, that so many doors get closed just because you are authentic and you don't want the brown envelope situation or whatnot, So I think fairness in the game would be great, And I think that's a way we sort of gain our integrity back, for us to make real impact. It's a tricky one nonetheless.
I think back to Mbadi's point, because I thought about it. I didn't know like what can I do, but like I feel like land is important. The issue of land, I do see, because Melly was the one who kept on saying, wow, like the land is where the problem is at. She keeps on like the land, and I think I saw it firsthand last year, and it is honestly like, I don't know, it's like I don't know if it seems like they're pushing us out of our own country in a way. Like, who can afford a plot of land that's like 800,000? Not a normal family can, not like every day. And I feel like the land thing is honestly, and it goes down because with land you can do so much. There's entrepreneurship, there's a lot of things, and especially at least tourism, or and most places that I saw that you have these touristy like lodges and whatnot, they're owned by white people, and it's kind of really crazy how South Africa is, because there'll be a lodge here and maybe like a couple of streets down a township, and it's just heartbreaking. And most times the people in the township are employed to work in those lodges, and it's heartbreaking when you see that like the people that are enjoying such luxuries of going to the mountains and all those nice things are the white people, because they can afford to. Us as black people, we're just there serving them the food, doing their beds, cleaning their rooms and whatnot. And it's like the dignity, like it feels so like, is this what I'm worth in this world? Like just being someone's cleaner, someone's helper, I cook for the white people so that I can provide for my own family.
They cook for black people too.
It's black people.
Just saying. So they cook for people with money.
Yes, people with money. Yeah. People with money. So but it's very degrading. Like to just, it seems like it's not even now something that is subtle. It's just so, it's in our faces every day, and nothing seems to be like there's no change. I don't know what I would do, honestly, but the land thing, yes. The land thing, yeah.
So, Prof, I actually don't know, but I would say a complete overhaul of the economic system, right? There's certain, like South Africa is rich in minerals. It's rich in everything. When I grew up, I thought South Africa was a first world country because we had so much and we can work with so much. But for the fact that we don't own most of our natural resources is very, very problematic, right? Because we are the ones who are custodians of this land. This is our home. We have nowhere else to go. Like, we have nowhere else to go.
Even me, I have nowhere to go.
Like, this is it. So this is it. So the economic system needs to have an overhaul. And I feel like the government could do so much in regulation, like to join power, like just do so much in regulation. This is going to be a tad off topic, but like Rez is charging 50,000 for a room and a locker and a bed and a desk with an uncomfortable chair is preposterous. Like, it makes no sense. So the government needs to start doing regulation in prices and everything. We can't keep on capitalism having its way in a way that is completely ridiculous. Because now, Prof, Apple Manch is now R2.
Hey, what?
It's like what is it?
Frozen. Okay.
Yeah. It's now R2, Prof. So that, like, a lot of things.
How much was it?
It was 50 cents, and then when we grew up, it was R1 for the longest time, and now it's like R2. And it's so tiny for it to be R2. But like, that sort of like shows that we need an entire new economic system. We need a state bank. We need our land back. We need an entire overhaul of the education system. Primary school is free. Secondary school is free. Tertiary school, you have to pay for it. Where are we going to get the money? So like, there's a lot of things that need to happen. And controversial opinion, but not controversial. lower corporate tax.
Okay, the young people have spoken. I mean, it feels to me like they are saying to those in power, stop parading in borrowed robes. And when I say those in power, it's politicians and even people who are in, CEOs, especially, CEOs, vice chancellors, state-owned entities, and so on and so forth. It's like that's the message I'm hearing. It's almost like you're there, but what are you doing? Change things that matter. And when you say land, often when young people say that, some people say, what are they going to do with land? What are they going to, I went for the first time yesterday to a congress of a poultry and egg congress. Damn, I was so emotional seeing how many young people, young Black people, were at the conference. And I made it my business to ask them, why are you here? What business are you doing? And I thought all of them maybe are employed by farmers. A lot of them are doing farming. Some of them say, like, I don't have land. I'm just doing in my whatever. I'm working with eggs. I'm producing this much. I'm supplying this Pick and Pay, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, just imagine if just these people at this conference were supported to have land and have grow their businesses. And I mean, it would just be just those, nje. Even if you just took those, it would make a huge difference. So the idea that many young Black people are not interested in this and they won't know what to do with the land, I don't think it's really true. People are hustling with the real stuff. And dealing with chicken is no pap place, eh? Pap and is bloody tricky. These animals are so sensitive to just get them to produce eggs, and it's just something else. So, and of course, it's not like everyone is going to do that. Some people will do other things with the land. And I think, until we try, we won't know. And I think there are many young people with vision, and when we talk about entrepreneurship, I thought, we also talk about entrepreneurship as a simple thing. Like entrepreneurship support us. I give you money for the business and it must succeed. But really, top-class entrepreneurs have failed many, many times. You are not given time to fail. Mm-hmm. We give you money, you must succeed and pay me back. But in the real world, that's not how it works. You know what I mean? And so many of our young people want to do the mainstream thing, something that's foolproof, that somebody has tried, that's going to work. They can't be creative. They can't problem solve very much, because if you do that much and it fails, how are you going to pay back? I mean, so there's something, not working well here that I think we should think about carefully as adults. And as I say about higher education, it's like, I hear you. It's got to be free. And it's costly. But the cost of not having young people educated is way higher. Way higher. Way higher. The less and less young people we get to get post-school education, the much more complex and difficult our problems will be, and the poorer we will be. That's the voice of young people. I got the message. And I'll carry it on. I hope you keep thinking, you keep pushing. I hope you get less hopeless this Youth Month, and I hope you get less hopeless. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Really a pleasure. Remember to be authentic. It doesn't matter how tough things are. You're the only one of your type who's going to live in this world. There's no anyone else who's you. So be you, because it's the only way you can do you and make a difference. See you tomorrow.